Good afternoon, brothers. What is happening? Thanks for being here. Welcome to the stream, I guess. Today, as we do every Sunday, we look at army lists submitted by the community. We have 4 to get into today. Left-Handed Texan, Steve T, Dr. Aklushka, and Pie Production 873. I have a tissue in here. Probably not. I am going to get a tissue. I will be back in 2 seconds. But, you know, I've got a kitchen roll from doing Warhammer stuff, so that's fine. We'll use that. Good afternoon. Good morning, wherever you are. Get your synths and keyboards ready. Hello, Highland. Hello, Carrie. Hey, Martin. Hey, Steve. Hey, Lordless Sidechick. XO7. Afternoon, guys. Hope you're well. Seemed like a lot of people enjoyed Friday's video. I got a lot of good comments on that, so thank you so much for watching. And thanks for being here on this Sunday as well. So yeah, 4 lists to get into today. And as always, if there's any questions, comments or anything, just fire them into chat. We'll try and keep up with chat. And we'll start with, I was going to say Left-Handed Texting was who I was going to start with, but I think he asked me to start with him a little bit later. He is in Texas, so I think that's like 6 hours behind, so it's maybe 10 AM. So we'll start with a different list. We'll start with Steve T, who is a member as well. That will be fine. And let me put that up at the top here. So we'll start with Steve. Cool. And yeah, the videos that I've got coming out this week are mainly my video on my tournament list. And I quickly put together, I've got it open here. It's 28 slides long. And I'm going to go over pretty much the list, my game plan, all the battles, screenshots. So that's what I'll be working on filming this list this week, sorry. So hopefully you guys will get some good value out of that. Maybe going one step further than the interview with Jack that we did this week, because obviously in my tournament I have pictures of like the beginning and the middle of every game. So cool. Alright, let's start with Steve. Hey, good afternoon, Jeff. How you doing? Right, so hey Commander, lately I've been having a lot of success with Psychic and Dreadnought heavy lists, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I mean, Dreadnoughts are very good right now because of -1 damage. Psychic, I guess let's see how many, when he says Psychic heavy, let's see how many we go. I keep a captain for my Sangri Guard until turn 3, and so I choose Master of Codex for CP generating instead of Gift of Foresight. Interesting. I think Master of the Codex gives you an extra CP on a 4-up every turn, so basically I guess 2.5 CP extra per game. And Cursors forward deploy to Rod turn 1, Sangri Guard and Blade Guard Veterans Rod turn 2 and 3, Dreads and Tech Marine move up together, and I bolster a Leviathan tier 1 and 2, so those Hunter Killers hit on 2s. Jump Librarian bolster Inceptors with a 5 double plus as they hold the middle, with my Dread Gang either being behind them so they get Wisdom of the Ancients to reroll overcharged Inceptor shots. Blade Guard either bolster the middle Rod or hold an objective as my Vanguard Veterans and Sangri Guard move up the field. Librarian Dread is safe from target so long as he's near a unit or Leviathan, so basically play him as a turn 3 Sledgehammer or Character Killer for Sword of Sanguinius, buffing him with Psychic Powers, and the Jump Librarians Might of Heroes for +1 Strength, Toughness and Attack. By turn 3, if the captain is close enough to give rerolls, he's killed virtually Knight solo, so he does work when properly buffed. This is the wrong list, Steve. You tagged me in Discord. I'm glad that you were here. Okay, 1 second. How do I... What is this? It's oh, it's a HTML file? Okay, hold on. Are your comments relevant, or is it just... is it just the list? No problem. just the list. Okay, alright, so these comments are mute. Okay. Alright, let's have a look. Steve, you didn't have to do that. Thank you so much. It's fine. Librarian then. And he is a Chief Librarian. Librarian Dreadnought, sorry. Chief Librarian. And he has Quickening, Shield, Gift of Foresight, Wings. I was going to say an Furioso Fist. Just a Stormbolter in the sky. No, Meltagun, sorry. Where is it saying? Oh, Meltagun, 5 points. Okay. Yeah, 180 points. Meltagun, Gift of Foresight, which is pretty nice. Duty Eternal, Chief Librarian. Psychic Mastery to make his casts more reliable. And I guess 2 psychic powers out of this. So Shield, Quickening, Wings if we need it. First squad of troops is in Cursors, 105 points. And Cursors are pretty standard. Leviathan Dreadnought at 245 points. It's equipped with... I'm so not used to running... so not familiar to seeing the export like this, but this is fine. Twin Volkite Cavaliers, 3 Hunter Killer Missiles in the Storm Cannon, and then the Siege Drill. Okay, so basically like an anti-infantry type, or anti-Dukari, I guess, as well. Storm Cannon, pretty good against those Raiders. Twin Volkite's pretty good against the Raiders as well, just because they do the mortal wounds. And Drill, because Leviathans with a Drill are awesome. Good afternoon, Maverick. Then we have the second attachment, which is a Vanguard. We start with a Librarian, who's Might of Heroes, Null Zone, and Psychic Fortress. So I was going to say he needs to have the Tomb of Malkador to have 3 powers like that, but that's fine. He also has an Infernal Pistol and a Jump Pack. Sometimes I feel Infernal Pistol on this Librarian's not super required, but I mean, maybe there's a better character that could carry it. Especially if you've got Sangri Guard running around, you know, because this guy's just got his BS of 3, but I mean, Infernal Pistols generally are reasonably decent. These are the 3 powers I run: Might of Heroes, Null Zone, Psychic Fortress. I like all 3 of these powers. You know, the only difference between this one and my one is I'm running him as the Chief Librarian, you're running him as a regular Librarian, but you already got the Chief. He's a cool unit, he's got a lot of versatility. I like him a lot. You also got the Primaris Tech Marine. In at 80 points, he's taken Soul Warden, so we can get those 5-up shrugs against mortals in a 6-inch bubble. I like that a lot. That's exactly how I'm running my Primaris Tech Marine now, but I'm paying the 20 points to make him Master of the Forge. Master of the Forge is a strange one, right? Because normally you pay the 20 points for it, and if you think about it, the average roll on a d6 is like a 3 or a 4. So you're really paying 20 points just for 1 extra wound per turn. But I guess sometimes that extra wound can be very valuable. Good morning, Benjamin. How you doing? And I usually use him alongside the Sangri Guard for the 5++ bubble. So he's stuck in usually. Yeah, sorry. What was the Warlord here? Is the Librarian Dreadnought the Warlord? Yes. Okay. Yeah, which makes sense. So he's with your Sangri Guard, giving them an invulnerable save, which is nice. We then have Blade Guard Veterans, 4 of them, standard loadout. A 200-point Death Company, 4 with Thunderhammers, and I guess... Sorry, 5 with Thunderhammers. Alright. Shouldn't they be... Oh, jump packs get added after, is it? Yeah, okay. Yep. 5 Death Company, all Thunderhammers. So a very hammery Death Company, I guess. We then have another Leviathan Dreadnought. Okay. This one's got the Grav Flux and the Hunter Killers again. Cool. I mean, I guess with having the Tech Marine, you can put +1 on one Leviathan, shoot all the Hunter Killers, and then put +1 on the other one, shoot all the Hunter Killers as well. 48 inches on those Hunter Killers. So if you can release all 6 of them, that's pretty decent. Sometimes consistency is key, so that's why you pay for the Master of the Forge. Yeah, I'm trying to decide if Master of the Forge is better than like 4 Hunter Killer missiles, because Hunter Killer missiles are the easy thing to drop to fit in Master of the Forge. I guess you have to decide on how often you get value out of those Hunter Killer missiles. If you don't feel like you're getting value out of them, would it be better to just be able to repair a guaranteed 3 each turn? I don't know. I mean, Hunter Killers are going to wound pretty reliably on Strength 10. It's just their EP is kind of sucky, but I guess some of them you'd be shooting off in turn 1, so they'd be at -3. Some of them you'd be shooting off at turn 2, so they would just be -2, I guess. We then have a squad of Sangri Guard. 235 points, I think, is 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2 Infernal Pistols and axes, swords. So you've got the Null Zone in your list, so hey, it sort of makes sense to have some swords and some axes. I think axes are better now than swords, but if you have Null Zone, then I think swords are just as good, if not better, I suppose, when you have Null Zone up. We also have a Vanguard Veteran Squad, and these are all Lightning Claws and Storm Shields. Apart from the Sergeant, who has the Lightning Claw and the Relic Blade, it is nice to give the Sergeant the 2 damage weapon. I just wonder if you'd just be better taking a Thunder Hammer though on the Sergeant, just so that if you come up against Death Guard or something, the Relic Blade doesn't really give you any advantage. If you come up against Dreadnoughts or anything else that's -1 damage, you don't really get any advantage. You're at 199 points here, so... 1,999 points. So you could take a Thunder Hammer. I think they're 12 points per model, and then you'd have 2 points left over. I don't know. I guess you would have to give up your Storm Shield, I suppose, if you took the Thunder Hammer. The interesting option, I suppose, would be you could take something like Quake Bolts. You could even take Quake Bolts on your Tet Marine as well. Tet Marine's a good target for Quake Bolts because hits on 2s, right? Use the Hunter Killers to open up transports. That's probably a valid point, yeah. Especially against, like, if you're in the meta where you've got like 6 Dukari Raiders or something, which seems to be pretty popular right now. Being able to blow up a couple of them in turn 1 with all those Hunter Killers is probably pretty useful. Hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s, I guess. You're probably going to force them to take a couple of saves. I just don't... with all the changes they made to, like AdMech getting all their las cannons D3+3 and stuff, you would think Hunter Killers should probably be better than just D6 damage. Hunter Killers should probably be D3+3, considering they cost you 5 points per shot. D3+3 seems like it would be much, like... Hunter Killer should be D3+3, I think. Okay, I mean, the Sergeant and the Blade Guard Veteran is fine. I'd probably take a Thunder Hammer, though. I just think it gives you more options. And then you can have a Bolt Pistol, and if you really want to do something like Quake Bolts, you could do that as well. Inceptors... And these are Assault Bolter Inceptors at 120 points. I mean, Inceptors, Assault Bolters are really good against AdMech and Dukari as well. I got a lot of value out of them. I enjoyed them. And then the Whirlwind as well, the Castellan Launcher. Okay, so Castellan Launcher, Whirlwind, Inceptors, 6 Vanguard Veterans, 7 Sangri Guard, 2 Leviathans, 5 Death Company with Hammers, 4 Blade Guard Veterans, Primaris Tet Marine, Librarian with Mighty Heroes, Null Zone, Psychic Fortress, Librarian Dreadnought with Quickening, Shield of Sanguinius, Gift of Foresight, Wings of Sanguinius, yes. Cool. Is there anything else that I need to say about that? No, I don't think so. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you talk about what Jack was doing with his 5, so we can potentially pay. How many CP are we starting with as well? The patrol detachment says we're starting with 10. Vanguard Defachment is -5. So we're starting with 5 CP, right? Which is borderline, right? I wouldn't ever start both below 5. So yeah, maybe Quake Bolts is out of the equation. But as Highland just said in the chat, Quake Bolts may actually give your Death Company quite a lot of value, giving them back their +1 that they lose, obviously, because they're attacking with Thunderhammers. I suppose the nice thing about Quake Bolts as well in the Tech Marine is he can advance and fire it and still be hitting on a 3, 24 inches away. So you should, you know, assuming your Leviathans move 8 inches, you're probably going to have to advance your Tech Marine to keep up with them anyway. So you just advance, and then you shoot your Quake Bolts and get that +1 to hit. And I've used Quake Bolts a few times now. I like it a lot. It is, you know, it is a CP, but if you can make it work, even if you think about it this way, right? Like, yeah, look at if you talk about Descent of the Angels, for example, giving you +1 to hit, that's +1 hit for a single turn, and it costs you 1 CP, right? Whereas Quake Bolts are going to be 1 CP and they're going to last the entire game, assuming that they can't kill your Tech Marine easily, which I don't think they can if you've got 2 Leviathans. Because with 2 Leviathans, yeah, there's no, unless they've got snipers, they're not killing your Tech Marine, and also they're probably not killing your Tech Marine even if they have snipers, right? Because he's 5 wounds and he's on a 2-up save. So like, if they, I guess if they've got some snipers hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s, you're still going to save on 4s. So they're probably going to need like 2 whole squads of Eliminators. And even then, are they going to be able to... Let me work out. So if you had 2 whole squads of Eliminators, that would be 6 times 0.833, wounding on 3s, and then saving on 4s. Unless they get super lucky, they're not killing your Tech Marine. It's going to take them 2 turns to kill your Tech Marine. So, worst case, your Tech Marine's probably going to be able to Quake Bolt twice. In an army that they don't have snipers. Or even if they've got 1 squad of Eliminators, your Tech Marine's going to get Quake Bolts off a bunch of times. So, I like Soul Warden on the Tech Marine. I like Quake Bolts on the Tech Marine. It's 2 good options for him. Blade Guard veterans are very good at what they do, holding the middle with Transhuman. Leviathan's obviously holding the middle. You're going to use like quite a few of your CP and Wisdom of the Ancient in this list. Probably on the Librarian Dreadnought, because I feel like the one thing that Librarian Dreadnought is weak at is his lack of rerolls, right? I mean, I guess you've got Gift of Foresight, so you can reroll 1 hit, but his weapon skill 3 and his ballistic skill 3 are kind of... They're the thing that let him down, I feel like. But, I mean, he still can do very good damage. Yeah, you can have the occasional horrific roll with him. I've definitely, like, whiffed, like, 10 attacks with him before. But yeah, I mean, I think if you were taking Quake Bolts, the advantage of putting it on the Tech Marine is that he can shoot with 24 inches, and it's an assault weapon. You've pretty much got a 30-inch range. You'll be able to, I guess, hit Quake Bolts across the map wherever you need them to be. 2 Leviathans. If you have 2 Leviathans, I'm not 100% sure that you need Psychic Fortress, right? Because Leviathans get a built-in invulnerable save. Vanguard Vets get the built-in invulnerable save. I mean, Blade Guard Vets get the built-in invulnerable save. I mean, like, what in this list, Steve? What are you using Psychic Fortress for? Because the reason that I run it is because I'm running a couple of Redemptors, right? And Redemptors obviously don't have invuln saves, whereas Leviathans do, and that's where I'm getting most of my value for. which is, but I thought you said that your Librarian Dreadnought was with the Sangri Guard, so surely he's going to be using Shield of Sanguinius on them, and he's got Psychic Mastery, so it's going to be pretty reliable, right? Like if you spend your CP rerolls on his Psychic tests here, it's going to be very reliable to get that off. So I don't know if you necessarily need Psychic Fortress. I guess it gives you backup, but like, yeah, maybe Veil of Time to get that. When you arrive in Deep Strike, you know, like an 8-inch charge of the reroll isn't reliable. I think I actually have the math for that somewhere. An 8-inch charge or a 9-inch charge. So basically, you need an 8 and then you reroll. Even in the reroll, you only have a 66% chance of charging on a roll of an 8. So based on that, do you just maybe... Yeah, and Highland's right. If your Sangri Guard are ever in cover, then they're on a 1-up save, so the enemy's going to need to hit them with -4. So even if they're getting shot with melta-guns, and melta-guns need line of sight, so it's unlikely they're going to be getting shot, they're going to have the 5-up anyway. It's a tough call, I guess. I can understand, I guess, to take it for like a dub. You are going to fail a psychic test at least once a game. The other thing I would say, though, is like, see a 5 double plus, it's not actually that reliable in terms of like... So I was playing against Eldar in the tournament, and I got hit by like 14 attacks, and I have to take 14 saves at -3. Each one is like 2 damage or something. So I was on a 5-up anyway, and like 14 saves, that was from like one single character. Basically wiped the whole Sangri Guard just about in a game anyway. So like, I don't know if I would... I don't know if I would take a second power to try and get that double plus, that double 5+, because it's actually not that reliable. Like, it's only a 33% chance. And, Joe, I played against Thousand Suns a few weeks ago where they did 17 mortal wounds to me in turn 1 or something, and I had a 5-up shrug and I passed one of them. So basically, like, I saved 1 out of 17 mortal wounds. The averages should have like saved 5 or 6, but like I said, it just... If you have a save that's like 6++ or 5++, or even a 5+ feel no pain, like, I don't think you can ever rely on it to be solid, because while sometimes you will make them all, sure, there's just as equal chance that you will fail them all. I mean, I've had it where I've had to take like 5 4-up saves and I failed all of them, right? So it's like, if you're doubling down on a 5 double plus, it might just basically do nothing for you. Okay. So, troop-wise, we have Incursors, Blade Guards, Vanguard Veterans, Sangri Guard, Death Company. So we've got about 4 units that can do actions, but we only just have that 1 OBSEC unit. So let's start where we are. Effective at holding primaries. So 1 OBSEC unit, but we do have a Whirlwind that can sit on objectives as well. So I guess like our OBSEC / defensive holding is about 7. We do have 2 Leviathans, which is going to be very difficult for the enemy to deal with in center board, I guess. So if the enemy is around the center of the table, they're going to get crushed by the Leviathan. So maybe OBSEC could be 7.5, but typically this is how we score it. We score it for a 7 based on what you've got. We have 1 Leviathan that's definitely good at anti-infantry. We have the other Leviathan that's okay against anti-infantry. We have those Bolter Inceptors that are good against infantry. We have the Sangri Guard that are good against infantry. We got the Whirlwind that can kill infantry. Sometimes you'll need it for suppression fire. And then that's kind of it. So anti-infantry isn't not the strongest, or anti-horde is not the strongest that I've ever seen. It's not bad though. Maybe like an 8. Could also be a 7.5. It's pretty close between the two of them. Anti-vehicle monster, then. This is where this list is probably pretty good. Do you know what? We'll say it's the 8 because you've got that storm cannon on one of the Leviathans, and storm cannons are generally pretty great. If you have the Tech Marine there as well. You've got the Librarian Dreadnought that can kill monsters. You've got both the drills on the Leviathan. You've got the Grav Flux. You've got the Death Company. You've got the Vanguard Vets. You've got the Sangri Guard. The Blade Guard Vets to the Vanguard Vets to lesser extent, but the Blade Guard Vets as well. So probably anti-monster horde is anti-vehicle monster is like a 9. The best save is one where you don't have to make it to begin with. Yeah, you do have Might of Heroes as well, which is going to help. You could put Might of Heroes only goes on core units though, right? Which is... So I guess you're casting Might of Heroes on your Librarian Dreadnought to make him a toughness 8. It's a little bit sad that it only goes on core, because Leviathans, I like it a lot on the Redemptors, making one of the Redemptors T8. Especially against those Raiders. I think that Raiders, with their toughness 8 Dark Lances, Redemptors get a lot of value out against them. Hey Brent, good afternoon. Okay, so anti-vehicle monster. I think it's like a 9. The chest Volkites help with hordes, yeah, and I guess the chest Volkites spit out a couple of mortal wounds every turn as well. So, yeah, I think horde on an 8. I typically. Maybe it's an 8-5 then. I typically gear my horde scoring about shooting, right? Because you don't want to have to charge hordes with Sangri Guard, for example. And that's kind of what I feel about it. But yeah, maybe Inceptors, Whirlwind, Sangri Guard, the 2 Leviathans, the Storm Cannon. Yeah, it's an 8, or it's a tough one. I think for anti-monster vehicle, I think this is where this list has got. Do you know what? You've got yeah, we'll go with 8-5. Anti-monster, we're looking at like a 9. The 2 Leviathan drills are pretty nice. 3 damage weapons in this list. I would definitely try and get a Thunder Hammer on this Vanguard Veteran Sergeant. I think that helps. 3 damage weapons, I guess. We've got the Grav Flux and the drill. And then we've got these 5 hammers. And then another drill. And then our Librarian Dreadnought, and I guess a regular Librarian has a sword as well. So I think it's around a 9. I guess you're right. There's a bunch of Infernal Pistols, 4 Infernal Pistols, and 6 Hunter Killer Missiles. And a melta gun on the Dreadnought. Yes, it's my wife and I's 23rd anniversary. Congratulations, Mark. That's a good innings right there. Alright, so let's go 9.5. He has a melta gun on the Librarian Dreadnought, yes. Mobility-wise? Sorry, I'm just not used to looking at lists like this, I guess, and the big squad, the big export that Battlescribe do. The Leviathans aren't mobile, but like 8 inches is fine. The Blade Guard aren't super mobile, but again, it's fine. Both of these things have the ability to charge and consolidate, which probably makes up for it. Whirlwind isn't mobile, but it doesn't need to be. I think mobility is like an 8.5. Overall, it's pretty good. I mean, I guess mobility could be question marked if you fail your Wings of Sanguinius power on the Librarian Dread. That would be pretty sad, considering the Sangri Guard kind of need him to be within 6 inches to get their bonus to hit. I guess both are bonuses to hit, but that's probably okay. And then we do have the ability to fight last in this list. We do have, I guess, 3 different denies. Units for actions. I mean, while we do have like 4 units that can do actions, 5 units including the Inceptors, I feel like maybe one more would have been nice. We have a very good number of 3 damage or more weapons, and we have 5 CP. So specialization maybe comes in at a 9. And I think the reason it would come in at a 9 would be maybe half a point on off for like you've only got that one dedicated unit for performing actions than cursors, and like half a point off for just starting with 5 CP, which seems to be about as low as you possibly could start. Have a good day, Mark. Thanks for dropping in, even if it was just for a few minutes. Good afternoon, Crycheck. Those drills get a free melt on the Leviathan. Yeah, you're right. Quite often I can sometimes forget to fire those drills on my Leviathans. I like Leviathans a lot, though. So 42.5, something like that. Good morning to Sydney, Australia. Thanks for being here, Tip Top Baker. Nice to see you. And good morning, Evan, as well. How you doing? So yeah, I think it's a cool list. I probably would drop Psychic Fortress or Shield of Sanguinius. One of those 2 powers could be replaced. Psychic Fortress could be replaced with Shields of Time. Veil of Time. Shield of Sanguinius could be replaced with Unleash Rage. Is Unleash Rage, is that what it's called? I forget. Unleash Rage. Yes, so you could give like your Sangri Guard exploding 6s, or your Death Company exploding 6s, or your Vanguard Veterans exploding 6s, for one phase. That might even be better if you just want to up your damage. And then Psychic Fortress, the weakness, I guess, of Shield of Sanguinius is a single target. If your jump librarian's just going to go with your Sangri Guard and your other librarian, then just have him have the Psychic Fortress and give Unleash Rage to Librarian Dreadnought. Can the Librarian Dreadnought take normal Space Marine powers? No, he cannot. He can only take the Blood Angels ones. I like your incursors. I probably would drop some of the Hunter Killer missiles, and I'd probably get that Tech Marine to become Master of the Forge, just so that you can make sure that I think you mentioned, like, you have loads of 3 damage or more weapons. You can probably just have 2 Hunter Killer missiles and 1 Librarian Dreadnought, or drop the Infernal Pistol on the second Librarian and drop Hunter Killer missiles off 1. So that would give you 20 points and make your Primaris Tech Marine Master of the Forge, so you can guarantee keeping those Leviathans alive. I think guaranteeing keeping the Dreadnoughts alive is the better of the 2 calls, right? Because like when I had my Master of the Forge Tech Marine in the tournament that I just played in, very often, every time we came around to shooting phase or close combat phase, I was always able to push one of my Dreadnoughts back into top bracket with a flat 3 heal. And there's a big difference between top bracket and middle bracket for chance to hit, etc. So being able to push them back onto that like highest bracket so that they can still shoot and attack as effective as they can be is going to be more valuable over the course of a game, I think, than Hunter Killer missiles, which can be quite swingy, right? They're only -2, and they are only d6 damage, so you could pay 15 points on them all. You could end up making the opponent only have to make a couple of saves. They fail 1, they pass 1, and then you roll 1 for the damage or something. Whereas like keeping your Dreadnoughts alive for the entire game, I think is that's how I would play. I would prefer that. I got a lot of value out of that at the tournament I was just at. The Death Company with all hammers, it does make me wonder if Veil of Time is going to be important here, or you have to drop them down in an obscuring position when they come down in turn 2 and sort of hide out for a turn. That might be okay as well, as long as the opponent doesn't have indirect fire. The one thing I don't like about Death Company personally is that they can't perform actions, but you do have Inceptors, and Inceptors obviously can perform actions, and they're pretty great. It's 5 hammers. Everybody in the squad has a hammer. So that's gone even one step further than Jack Harper. I think Jack ran it with 4 hammers. And you know, it is actually fine to have 4 hammers if you need the 15 points elsewhere. Maybe if you really want to hold on to the Hunter Killers, then run the Death Company with 4 hammers and just have one guy with the chainsword and bolt pistol. It's always nice to have one guy that's cheap as well, so when the enemy does kill the first model, you just take off the cheapest model, right? What website or program are you using to make the list? This list has been generated from Battlescribe. I actually don't know the website for Battlescribe, but I imagine if you just Google it, you'll find it. Yeah, battlescribe.net. Okay, and then... yeah, I think that's about it. I think that's kind of all I want to say about this list. 42.5, Steve. Have you played this in any competitive environments yet, or how have you used the list so far? 4 hammers seem a little excessive. You say that, but the guy who finished 3rd at the Grand Tournament in Orlando with, what was it, 298 players, he had a Death Company with 1 chainsword and 4 hammers, and he finished 3rd. So hard to say that it's not the right call. If it can beat 297 other players or something like that. Been getting popping and static on the audio. I can change audio device. I think one of the things I need to actually buy is a new microphone. This one has just been forever problematic since I bought it. I really don't know why. Mic toner. Testing. I think it sounds okay. Maybe it's me. If I touch the microphone, you'll hear like a, I don't know. I need to get. Oh, it might be my phone. Sure, let me put it further away from the microphone. Or I need to get a new computer. This one is living on borrowed time. It is a piece of shit. I tried to play that new Diablo 2 remastered game, which is like a 20-year-old game this weekend, and like my computer did not like it much at all. Okay, cool. So list number 1 by Steve. We're going to hold on to Left-Handed Texans list, and we're going to move on to we'll move on to Dr. Alushka's list. He's usually around on a Sunday, so maybe he'll drop into the chat. But yeah, nice list, Steve. Let me know. I don't see you in the Discord, in the members only room in Discord very often, Steve. But yeah, come in here, or come in and let us know how you've done. And you've done this list up against Harlequins and Dark Templar. Okay, yeah. Let me know how you've done, and you know, you're dropping past the Discord room, and we'll talk about it more. Once I've talked over my list this Friday, hopefully, usually hang in the painting channels. That's absolutely fine. I guess I get very techie about lists in the members only room. That's literally what we talk about in the members room is lists, or competitive lists usually. Okay, let's start. Let's get into Dr. Alushka's list. But thank you for the list, Steve. Thank you for the $5. It's very appreciated, and hopefully I made some useful suggestions. You know, but let me know if you plan on changing anything, or you know, if you do play it in a couple of tournaments, let us know how it goes as well. Because psychic lists are going to definitely be a little bit more popular now, I would guess, with Grey Knights and Thousand Suns entering the meta, and also Soul Warden is going to be very good, right? Because there's a lot of mortal wounds coming out from those 2 armies, And I guess there's a lot of people running those Contemptors as well with the mortal wounds. So anything that can protect you further against those is good as well. Hey, Tip Top Baker, thanks so much for following. Appreciate that. Alright, so Commander, can we add your list to the roster queue, please? Absolutely. Here we go. So we are looking at a 1997 point battalion. And this is a custom chapter. So Born of Heroes and Whirlwind of Rage. I have seen some of these, but it's been a little while. Let me just refresh myself on Whirlwind of Rage. Is each time a model with its tactic makes a melee attack, if the model made a charge move or was charged or preferred a heroic intervention, you get +1 one additional hit. And Born of Heroes means each time a model with tactics makes a melee attack, if it made a charge roll this turn, add 1 to the attack's hit roll. Oh wow, interesting. Okay, so he is. I was going to say this doesn't stack though. You still need to actually roll natural 6s to get the additional hit. So 6s spawn you additional hit, but if you made a charge, you get +1 to all your hit rolls. Okay. I will pick up Veil of Time, and the Jump Librarian might remove 300 killers for a Thunderhammer on the Vanguard Veteran Sergeant. You wouldn't need to. The Vanguard Veteran Sergeant, you've already paid 13 points for Lightning Claw and the Relic Blade, right? A Thunderhammer is only 12 points, so you could just swap that out. But if you did want to hold on to the 100 killer missiles, then I would drop the Thunderhammer on 1 Death Company and run 4 Thunderhammers and 1 Chainsword, and then you could keep 5 of your 100 kill missiles, and you could get the Master of the Forge back. Yeah, okay. So Dr. Alushka, we are +1ing to all our hit rolls. Is that in close combat only? Oh yeah, because it's charge move. Okay, so if it's a charge move, we're hitting on 2s essentially, or we're getting +1 to hits, and 6s are spawning additional hits. Alright, interesting. And he's got 2 extra relics on this list. The first is our Captain on the Bike, who is Artisan of War with Gift of Foresight, an Adamantium Mantle, an Infernal Pistol, and Armor Indomitus. It's hard to argue with this Captain. I really like him. I think he's probably my favourite character at the moment in 9th edition. And then we also have the Primaris Chaplain on the Bike, who is also very good. I can never say this word. Exoration of Rage, which I believe means +1 to your attacks wound rolls. So he's running Exoration of Rage to make up for the fact he's not going to get Red Thirst because he's a custom chapter. He's got Canticle of Hate, which is great to give you those extra 2 inches for your charge roll. Again, that's going to be making up for the lack of Red Thirst. He has Icon of the Angel, so he's re-rolling charges, and he has the Wiserator, so his litanies are going off 2s. Exhortation. I don't even think I can say it, Brett, with you typing out for me. Exhortation. Maybe? English is not my strong point, I'm sorry. The problem, I think, is in Scotland we speak with far too much slang, and because of that, I was always a C student in English. Anyway, Incursors, Infiltrators are the 3 squads of troops, and I feel like you can probably get away with 1 squad of Infiltrators. If this was me, I'd probably take the 1 squad of Infiltrators, 2 squads of Incursors. I like the -1 AP that Incursors gets, because I just think that Infiltrators are kind of neutered in close combat, just because, yeah, they're just not great, whereas Incursors are, anything that's going to hit with -2 AP is pretty good in close combat. So Incursors, turn 3, -2 AP, usually hitting on 3s, usually wounding reasonably easily, so I would take 2 Incursors. If it's a forward deploy that you're interested in, 2 Incursors, 1 Infiltrators I think is fine. Plus, it's a 15-point difference. 15 points can really net you some extra value somewhere. We have the Blade Guard here, and it's a 5-man squad. We have the Judiciar, and he's got the Selfless Valor, Artificer Armor. I don't know if I would take Artificer Armor on the Judiciar. What does that give him? It just gives him a 2-up save. He has a 4-up save anyway in combat. Is there something better the Judiciar could have to make him more survivable? Like, if you want to make him more survivable, would you maybe just take... I was going to say that... Because you've given Armor Indomitus to your Chapter Master, I guess there's nothing that's going to make him more survivable here. I'm open to suggestions. The thing is, like, the way that you play this Judiciar is, like, basically he's on the Blade Guard veteran's shoulders. So again, unless the enemy have snipers, there's almost no way for them to target him. I always feel Artificer Armor feels like a low-value pick, personally. I don't think... Can he take the Adamantium Mantle? He could, but he's already given it to his Chapter Master on a bike. The only other way you could do this, I suppose, would be to give the Judiciar the Adamantium Mantle, and the Chapter Master on the bike could take Iron Resolve. And I had it in my head that the 5+ Feel No Pain was just much better than Iron Resolve, right? But, I mean, like, if we do the maths, right? So if you have 7 wounds, and you shrug on a 5+, basically you just need to take 7, multiply it by 0.33, because that would be like the 5+. So essentially, if you have 7 wounds and you shrug on a 5+, you essentially get 2.31 more wounds. So add that to the original 7, you have equivalent of like 9.31 wounds, right? But if you take Iron Resolve, if you lose the Adamantium Mantle off this Chapter Master and give him Iron Resolve, now you have 8 wounds, right? Because Iron Resolve gives you +1 wound, and then you just shrug on 6s, so you just shrug 0.166 of the time, and if you add that to the original 8 you had, the maths actually says that Iron Resolve is stronger than... Having 1 more wound and shrugs on 6s is stronger than 1 less wound and shrugs on 5s. Now, my brain doesn't compute that. Like, I was convinced in my head that Adamantium Mantle was the better choice because shrugs on 5s with 7 wounds sounds a lot better than shrugs on 6 with 8 wounds. But the math says... The math says it's pretty much identical. So you could put Iron Resolve on your Chapter Master, Adamantium Mantle on the Judiciar. I prefer that, and it means if the Judiciar is in close combat, which you probably want him to be in, he's even stronger, right? Because he would now have his 4-up save in close combat, and then he'd be able to shrug on 5s. It's a minor change to the list. I just don't like Artificer Armor. We then have Sangri Guard, and it's 8, and 4 of them have Power Fists, and I think the only reason I can see Power Fists being picked for Sangri Guard is because you're fighting, like, those new orcs that are ramshackle. Good afternoon, James, thanks for being here. Typically, Power Fists, to me, felt like wasted points, because you're -1 to hit, but it usually ends up meaning you're +1 to wound, so those two things kind of average each other out. But I guess with new orcs and the ramshackle, I guess Power Fists is an okay choice now. I still run mine with most of axes, and some swords, and I have Null Zone in my list, so swords are good for that. But yeah, Power Fists, they had gone the way of the dinosaur. They are maybe going to come back now. The Power Fist should probably be free. You're probably right, Thomas. Like, they provide very little value. 5 points a model for a Power Fist seems kind of overcosted, considering how good these guys are with axes and swords, and considering they put them up to 32 points per model. Do you know what? They could keep, like, because I complained when they put them up to 32 points per model. If they put them up to 32 points per model and made the Power Fist free as an option, I'd probably be okay with that. But right now, I don't really love the Power Fists. We then have 5 Terminators with Thunder Hammers and Storm Shields. I would probably be willing to forgo one Thunderhammer to have one guy with double lightning claws. Again, it's nice to have that one cheap model to die to begin with, and also maybe that lets you take the teleport homer, because the one thing about Terminators is they're very immobile, and the teleport homer helps you make them become mobile. So that's probably what I would do. Thank you so much, James, for becoming a channel member. That's super appreciated. I feel like I have a few other Jameses that were channel members. I'm not sure if it's your first time, but thank you nonetheless. Very much appreciated. I would be tempted to take one. And yeah, now that you're a channel member, you can link your YouTube account to Discord. You go into Discord, you change your settings, and you add your YouTube account there, and then you get access to our members only rooms over on Discord, which is pretty nice, I guess, if you want to hang out in there. The one thing I want to say about Terminators is they're not mobile, so paying those 5 points to potentially give them a bit more mobility is nice. The other, we already talked about, we could drop one of these squads of Infiltrators for Incursors. That gives you 15 points. We'll spend 5 of them on this Terminator squad, and these guys can now redeploy. The one thing to say about teleport homers as well is, so I played Andrew's horrific buggy list last week, and while I did beat it, he did basically wipe like a whole squad of Terminators down to one model with one wound left. Well, at that point, the model, we've got the teleport homer on it, that Terminator squad can actually just become an objective scoring unit, right? Like I can use that to now do Engage in All France, I can use it to do Retrieve Octarius data, I can use it to do Oath of Moment points. So the teleport homer means that your Terminators are going to take a lot of fire from the enemy because they're going to be in the thick of it. The teleport homer lets you remove them from the board and potentially use them to score you other points and stuff like that. So that's something to consider. I like the teleport homer upgrade. Oh, thank you, James. You're very welcome. I enjoy making the videos for the channel, honestly. We then have... I was going to say, we've got 2 squads of Vanguard veterans here. Lightning Claws ×2 on the sergeants, and lightning claws and storm shields on the other 4. Just looking back at the original points on this list at 1997 points, I would drop one of the lightning claws off one of these sergeants and give him an infernal pistol. That is 5 points, and that would fit. Again, it's not mandatory, but your Vanguard veterans with storm shields are probably going to smash into the enemies. Can you remove them from combat like wings? Yeah, the ruling or the wording on teleport homers is very much they can like if they're bogged down, if they're stuck in combat, if they're wrapped, anything like that, you can just remove them from the battlefield at your movement phase. Once per battle at the start of your movement phase, you can remove this unit from the battlefield, and then in the reinforcement step of your next movement phase, you can set them back up on the battlefield anywhere within your own deployment zone more than 9 inches from an enemy, or anywhere within 3 inches of a Blood Angel's model, again more than 9 inches from the enemy. So yeah, I mean, like I said, if your Terminators are in a bad situation, you deployed them aggressively, they killed a target and now they're getting swarmed, and you think there's no way they're going to survive through, you don't want to fall them back, because if you fall them back, you give up 2 points from Oath of Moment, or maybe it's just 1 point. I think you give up 1 point from Oath of Moment because you followed a unit back. So picking these guys up off the battlefield doesn't count as falling back, and you've saved yourself. You've saved the squad. You can now use them for like another. They can come back and charge elsewhere. They can perform actions, and/or you've saved yourself a victory point as well. I think 8 Sangri Guard with axes should be able to delete most things in the game. Yes, except -1. Well, they won't delete Mortarion. They probably won't delete too many Custodes things. I run 7 Sangri Guard, and I played a game against Titans, 2 large Titans, and I managed to delete both the... Not Titans, sorry, Knights. I always get Titans and Knights. I always just call them the wrong thing. Knights must remind me of Titans in another game. I must have played or something. So, anyway, I think 7 or 8 Sangri Guard with axes and swords for most situations is fine. yes, there is the odd matchup that they're not going to do great into, but you could say that about any unit in the game, right? Make that a 10 Vanguard veteran squad, saves points, and gives the unit to throw against. Yeah, I mean, if you do make the Vanguard veteran squad a 10-man, and you're up against an enemy that doesn't have a lot of blast weapons, it definitely helps, like we said, against something that you just need to put a ton of wounds into. And it also gives you the versatility if you want to combat squad them. You can combat squad them at the beginning of the game. But I would put an Infernal Pistol on the Sergeant. Like, you literally lose one Lightning Claw attack here, and then you've got the ability to potentially get 8 damage with a lucky Infernal Pistol shot. Do you know, that doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. It does happen. I've deleted so many characters and enemy models and tanks and rhinos and all these sort of things with Infernal Pistols, and people sometimes say to me, like, oh, your Infernal Pistols on such and such character feel like kind of cutesy. And I was like, well, yeah, sure, they feel cutesy until I do 8 damage at you at point blank range, and I just delete one of your, I delete a 100-point character, or I delete like a really important Dreadnought or something. It feels cutesy until it's Infernal Pistol to the face at minimum. It's very easy to be within half range, when your units are all jumping about very mobile. We then have 2 squads of Heavy Melta Rifle Eradicators, and I've talked about Heavy Melta Rifle Eradicators. I don't dislike them, but their mobility for me is a problem. I prefer to play Dreadnoughts. I feel like Dreadnoughts kind of synergize more with what Blood Angel's trying to do, and that the Dreadnoughts are pretty horrifically scary in close combat as well. Quite often I like to give my Dreadnought Chapter Master rerolls, so we're getting bonuses from multiple turns, or multiple phases. If your Dreadnought's got Chapter Master rerolls, then you're getting bonuses potentially in your shooting phase, in your close combat phase, in the enemy's close combat phase. Whereas like Eradicators, you just get the bonus once in your shooting phase, and Heavy Melta Rifle Eradicators do a lot of damage. They do only hit on 4s, they do only have 6 shots, so you're really only going to get 3 hits. Probably wounding like armor and 4s, so you're only going to make a couple of wounds. I feel like I prefer, if I had to run Eradicators, I'd probably run the regular version, so I have the option to move in advance. And because I feel 5 inches movement just doesn't synergize with the rest of what we're trying to do as an army. But if the enemy's going to be a close combat army that's going to come against you, like into you, then Heavy Melta Rifles work. But if you can't play them statically, I think they struggle a little bit. So the main idea is make Blood Angels more fighty by giving them 6+ to hit, which increases their hit output by 16%, sure. Plus, after a unit makes a charge move, sadly, there's no +1 to hit, which increases our hit output by another. So it opens more opportunities us to use heavy melee weapons, because strength 8 against T4 with no +1 to wound is useless. Plus, there's more and more transhumans. You are right in a sense, right, Dr. Lushka, in that, like, Red Thirst isn't as good as it once was, because there is a lot of rules now that are kind of countering the Red Thirst a little bit, like those new Ramshackle rules for the Orcs, Transhuman. I feel like the Red Thirst probably needs like a tiny little bit of a rewrite. Like if they just rewrote it that like it overwrites other rules that say like unmodified rules to hit or something, it could be very good. With that, we can make Terminators with Thunder Hammers and Storm Shields hit on 2s with rerolls of 1, and our Vanguard Veterans hit on 2s and wound on full reroll. Full reroll is better, with worse wound rolls and more efficient. In general, we have an army that makes a lot of extra hits, but +1 to charges lost. I have an answer for this. Almost every game we start our battle on the table, it is 2 or 3 units charge out of Deep Strike. That's why I use the Chaplain. It's an effective way to get +2 to charge, reroll charge, an extra litany, +1 wound, and a 5 triple plus against mortals, or even +1 to hit for range. It's pretty flexible. General tactics: wait behind shield wall of Blade Guard veterans or maybe Terminators. enemy charges and make a devastating counter charge. If it is an opponent with unmobile army, we are mobile. If it is aggressive army, we can withstand the first wave and punish the enemy. Eradicators are OP. You can't change my mind, but they are right for this tactic and would be better with 2 or 3 attack bikes, but I don't have them. Armor Indomitus is good because you activate it before the saves. Toughness 6 is not that good against Death Guard with rerolls of save and CP rerolls. And yes, I've dropped the Sangri Priest. 6 triple plus is terrible. In best case, it will raise 250 points. It's good, but if your opponent is smart, they will wipe one unit by one because everyone knows about this tactic. And I hope we agree that you need to play against good opponents. I think you play a few games with this roster and you discuss it and I'll tell you the results. Thank you for your time, Commander. Yeah, I mean, you make a lot of sense. A lot of people have wisened up onto the Sangri Priest. 6 triple plus isn't that great. And, you know, like, it worked to begin with because people wouldn't focus fire bikes, for example. So for 6 months, people weren't focusing fire units down. They're always leaving things alive. And then you're getting great value out of resurrecting them. That doesn't seem to happen anymore. People are smart now. People know that if you have a Sangri Priest on the battlefield, they have to wipe the entire units, and then quickly the Sangri Priest doesn't provide as much value as he used to. I still like him as a character, I just don't run him. What do you think of bikes versus Outriders? I prefer bikes over Outriders. You mean regular Space Marine bikers as opposed to like attack bikes. I have a big problem with Outriders in that, like, if you actually look at how much damage they do, it's not great. You think of them running into the enemy with their chain swords, but after that initial charge turn, on the initial charge turn, you get a bunch of bonus attacks, but once those drop off, I think a squad of Outriders just gets like 10 attacks, and let me double check that. I think it's like 10 attacks for a squad of 3 of them. And, after that initial turn, there's no +1 to hit. Yeah, it's actually worse than I thought. Sorry, it's... it is 10 attacks because they're armed with chainswords. 4 in the Sergeant, 3 in the other guys. But 10 chainsword attacks with just hitting on 3s, and then, so you're basically going to make 6 hits, where you're going to wound on 4s or something. Against like other infantry, 4s or 3s. So you're going to make the enemy take 3 or 4 saves maximum, -1. I mean, it's just not exciting. The thing it's that whole thing that I was just talking about a minute ago. Like, we saw this rule, devastating charge. If this model makes a charge unit, you get +2 attacks per model. You're thinking like, holy crap, that's a lot of attacks. Yeah, but it's for a single turn, and you're only using chainswords, so you're actually not going to kill that much at all. If you think about Outriders being 150 points for a unit, even with their devastating charge, giving like the Sergeant 6 attacks, I guess, and the other guys 5 attacks, that's 16 attacks. A unit of Assault Intercessors, which are about 95 points, so about 2/3 the cost, actually, less than 2/3 the cost, get 5 extra attacks. So like if you run a squad of Assault Intercessors into a unit, and usually when Assault Intercessors go into a unit, in turn 3, they maybe do a decent amount of damage, but in turn 1 and 2, they're kind of like, it's not great. I ran a squad of Assault Intercessors into like Sangri and Infiltrators, and maybe we killed like 2 of them or something. So it's like, so your Outriders are shitter than that. So your Outriders are going into apparently I can't spell Sangrian, or maybe I can't spell Infiltrators. I'll just type in admech. Jeez. Apparently I can't spell that either. Factions, admech, datasheet, Sangri and Infiltrators. I should have just done that. So these guys are 17 points per model. So you're talking about like 150 point model to kill 17 points in a turn. It's tragic. The Outriders are just tragically bad. Like, I just don't rate them at all. They're the same cost as a squad of Vanguard veterans with lightning claws. I think the Vanguard veterans, they survive better. They're more mobile. Well, they're more mobile in that they can move from obscuring position to obscuring position. You can obviously take more than 3 in a squad. I just don't like Outriders at all. If you want to run bikers, I guess run Space Marine bikers. And the advantage of running the regular bikers is you can mix an attack bike in there to get like a multi-melta that it can't be targeted because they're going to kill the bikers first. Okay, Doctor has 3 squads of troops, 2 Infiltrators and Incursors, so we're going to give him a 9 for OBSEC. We're also going to... We don't have a lot of gunfire in this army at all, so apart from like the Sangri Guard and the 2 characters, there's literally no small arms fire. So against enemy hordes, we're going to say this is pretty low. If he runs into a horde-based list, he's going to have to kill hordes with Eradicators. He's going to have to kill them with all of his melee jump units. So I'm not the hugest fan of not having any firepower. Some people, obviously, you can do it. You know, like Jack Harper just did it at that US Open. He had a very melee based list, and he didn't worry about it at all. But I think anti-horde in this list is kind of lower one. Anyone else seen a sneak peek of the next video? Do you mean my next video, or what other video you wanted to talk about? Regular bikers can take special weapons as well, yeah, and I just think they're more versatile. And they're probably... I thought Outriders were okay when they were 45 points per model. I didn't think they were good. I didn't think they were bad. I thought they were okay. Yeah, there is a sneak... This is the next video I'm working on. It's 28 slides, and it's going to be out next Friday. The sneak... Like, all I've done so far is made the slides. I haven't filmed anything, so that's what I'll be doing tonight, probably. Anti-vehicle monster, then I mean, I guess you could be killing the hordes with your lightning claws. And I mean, I guess lightning claws are good against hordes, but typically you want to send lightning claw units at something stronger than like poxwalkers, something that you're going to get value from the rerolls, right? Jack's list would struggle a bit without terrain. It might. Well, if there was no terrain on the battlefield, yes, James, it would struggle 100%. If the terrain was very light, it might struggle a little bit as well. It just depends. I think Jack is a very good player. He said that there's a couple of Blood Angels battle reports over on his channel on Art of War, so you could check that out. I did actually check out one of them myself, and he was playing John Lennon's AdMech, and I think... Was it John Lennon that won the US Open? I think if he didn't win it, even he must have come first or second. So that would be a good battle report to check, because you basically got the guy that came third against first or second. Blood Angels versus AdMech. Okay. Anti-vehicle monster. If he played up against like Andrew's stupid buggy list, he would have big problems with that Blood Angels list. I mean, I would have big problems with my list as well, but that buggy list just destroys 2-wound Space Marines. Like, it just absolutely destroys them. Sangri Guard are going to get killed. Well, you saw in the game last week, my whole Sangri Guard got killed before they got they were able to make a charge, right? And I hid them off the board. Like, they came in from deep strike, they failed their charge, and then they died. And they were in cover, so they were on a 1-up save. Okay, anti-monster. I guess we've got those Sangri Guards with fists, so we should count that in. We've got the nice Chapter Master and Chaplain. We've got Blade Guard, which are good at killing vehicles. We've got Thunderhammers here. And then we've got those Heavy Melter Rifle Eradicators. So monsters is probably a 9-5. I'm going to take some points off for mobility, though, because I hate the mobility of the Heavy Melter Rifle Eradicators. I try to use them and just felt they were really not mobile. I think I ended up having to advance them, and if you have to advance Eradicators and you can't shoot them, that is like the worst thing ever. That's why I think I prefer the regular Eradicators. Terminators aren't mobile. The Blade Guard aren't mobile, but don't really need to be. The Incursors can guerrilla tactics all over the place. So mobility is maybe like a 7. And then specialization, right? We've got no... We do have fight last in the Judiciar, but we don't have like a... We can't fight last all over the battlefield. We can just fight last in the center board. We don't have denies. I guess we've got a good amount of units for actions. We're starting with 6 CP, which is about as low as I would go. And the last thing is 3 damage weapons. I guess we have the Thunderhammer here. We'll include the Judasar's sword because he can do 5 Thunder Hammers, and then 6. So we do have 14 3-damage weapons. But overall, I think it's maybe like a 7.5 for specialization. So I think something like 39.5 is kind of where I would rate this list. And it's probably just because I couldn't get heavy melt rifle Eradicators to work. I tried them a few times after they increased the cost of attack bikes. I agree with Highland Phoenix, these guys would be better as a single squad. I would try and get the Teleport Homer on the Terminators because it improves their mobility. I'd probably swap around those 2 Warlord. Probably give Captain on the Bike Iron Resolve, give him the Adamantium Mantle. Probably lose one of the squads of Infiltrators for another squad of Incursors. Spend those 15 points to get... Oh, and get the Infernal Pistol and the Vanguard Veteran. If you did drop one squad, you could even have your Vanguard Veteran Sergeant have an Infernal Pistol and a Thunder Hammer, which I think is nice as well. Yeah, so a few changes there, coming in at like 39.5, I think. Eradicators are best left to Ultramarines or Salamanders. I mean, yeah, but I mean, I guess that's the same thing that people say, Reziel. Like, some people criticize my lists for including too much melee combat, for including too much shooting, right? And some guy, I think after I posted up my results, was like, why are you, you're a Blood Angels player, but you're running 2 Redemptors and a Tech Marine. Are you even still a Blood Angels player? But I think that comes down to strong units can be played by any faction, right? So I think Eradicators are a strong unit, 135 points, 6 Melt-A-Gun shots. I mean, basically you're paying 180 points for those same 6 Melt-A shots on attack bikes. They are a strong unit. They can be used effectively. I don't think there's any problem taking them. I think you're right. You can get a little bit more out of them with other chapters, but I mean, just picking Eradicators in of themselves, I don't think is a problem. Same as like I think picking Redemptors in is a problem. Is itself. Oh, hey Doctor, nice to see you. Finally, you tuned in just as we're finishing your list. I haven't played since then. All right. Well, yeah, play some games and then come hang out one night and tell us what you think. But typically when I make suggestions, I kind of always say to people to maybe play a game with your list with my suggestions in the back of your mind, right? Like, don't just go ahead and make the changes. Because if you just make the changes that I make, I tell you, maybe you don't understand why. Whereas if you go ahead and play a game, and you're playing a game and you're going, fuck, I can't get these Eradicators in range, 5 inches is just not good enough, then maybe you see the same problem I did and went like, okay, then maybe one squad of Eradicators needs to be regular melt rifles so I can advance them and make sure that I'm getting that Eradicator fire where it needs to be, for example. And I guess if you did do that, you said you had no attack bikes. I was going to say, maybe attack bikes is something you need to consider, or Invader ATVs is something you need to consider, because if you drop those one squad of Infiltrators giving you 15 points, and you drop one of these Eradicator squads down to regular Eradicators, that gives you another 15 points. So that's you got 30 points already. At that point, you could have 3 attack bikes with multi-meltas. So now you've completely eliminated the question mark about like mobility, because 3 of your multi-meltas are on attack bikes, so they've got 14 inches move, and 3 of your attack bikes are Eradicators that have 5 inches but can advance and shoot, right? So it's just something to consider. Alright, we're going to move on to list number 3, and this is from Pi Production, and yeah, I mean, I get that I get that Redemptors are maybe not the most Blood Angels themed unit. I 100% I get that, James, but like, I like Redemptors. I don't know if you guys can see on that shelf there, right there. There's a bunch of my Dreadnoughts up there. I'm moving house at the moment, so everything is getting moved around. But like Dreadnoughts, I've always loved Dreadnoughts, and Duty Eternal has really made Dreadnoughts stick out for me, and Redemptors especially, because Redemptors managed to hold on to core, and core is really important for the way I run my list. You know. I can cast my psychic powers on my core units. I can buff my core units. So yeah, I like. I'd say that Vanguard Veterans with Lightning Claw is anti-horde. Yeah, I guess you're right. It is anti-horde, but for my scoring system, Doctor, I'm trying to see what you've got to shoot away those hordes, because I feel like against horde armies, you want a good amount of shooting, and this is where like if you think of Jack's list, it works because he's running 20 Sangri Guard. That gives him 40 Angelus bolt guns every turn, and 40 Angelus bolt guns will actually kill a lot of hordes. And you know, like because I run 2 Redemptors with onslaught cannons and storm bolters and rocket pods. Again, these things will kill a lot of horde units. They can kill other stuff as well, but they're very good at just mowing down hordes. So it's like I've got some things to mow down the hordes, but also some things. Like, I would very rarely use my Vanguard Veterans with Lightning Claws to go after, let's say, Poxwalkers. Like, I'd much more likely shoot the Poxwalkers away with the 2 Assault Cannons, or the Onslaught Cannons, and then use the Lightning Claw Vanguard Vets to charge something a little bit more scary than the crappy Horde units, right? Okay. Moving on to Pie Productions list. Number 7. Playstyle impacts unit efficiency way more than armies in general, I found. Yeah, I mean, I guess you're probably right. I tried running Jack's. I tried running all melee Blood Angels armies in 9th edition, but like I said, my win rate with it is not good. We were definitely playing on less terrain than what that GW, because I took a photo of that GW terrain, right? Do I still have it? Desktop GW. I think I put it in a folder called Jack. Yeah, like this map here, for example, right? This is one of the maps from the US Open. Like, where's the firing arc, right? If you have a unit here, and the enemy unit is here, there's literally nowhere you can draw a straight line, because this is obscuring, and all these are obscuring. So, like, this is huge for melee armies. Like, if this was the terrain that we were playing on all the time, then I'd probably still be running all melee armies. But, like, this is not the terrain that we play on, right? Like, on some of our maps, there's way more firing arcs than this. So I think that running full melee on a much weaker map can be very difficult. Do you know what? I had someone who's in here actually a few times on the Discord, and also he's done super chats a few times, and let me resize this to like I don't know, 1,000 by 800 or something, right? Oh, don't maintain. So I had someone contact me and say that like this was the terrain that they were playing on. Let me see what can draw a line in here. Can this draw a line? Yeah. Okay. So like they were playing on a map like this, right? Like, so there's a piece of terrain like this. There was maybe like a piece of terrain like this. There was maybe like a piece over here, and then a piece over here. And they were saying like, I'm really struggling to play Blood Angels because this is the, you know, my enemy's shooting me off the table. And I was like, yeah, I mean, look at the firing arcs from here. From here, I can shoot here to here, from here to here. So if you are anywhere here or anywhere here, you're fucking dead. You know, and it was like, yeah, GW on that tournament took the train to the other way, but like full melee Blood Angels is tough if you are on a weak table. Do you know what? From the tournament that I was playing at, this is what they classed as like a weak table in terms of terrain. So I guess there's like firing lanes here, 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 right through the center. So this was the table that they said was low in terrain, and then this is the table they said was high in terrain. But even the table that was high in terrain, big firing arcs, right through the middle of the map, right down the sides. If you think about this map, there's almost nowhere center board to jump units to, right? You can see here on this map, I have my Sangri Guard hidden. Like, this was my deployment zone. This was one where we are deploying on each side of the map. So, like, where are my Sangri Guard going to go? Bear in mind, he's got, like, I think there's 2 raiders behind there. You can just see them there. There's a raider here. There's a raider here. There's also a 3rd raider here. So, like, where are my Sangri Guard going to go on this map? Like, so if I was all jump units on this table, like, I'm probably going to lose, like, a good chunk of my... I'm going to have to jump all my units into no man's land. I mean, unless we're in this bit of terrain here. But this bit of terrain, because you can see through it, if you're underneath it, you could be shot, right? So, yeah. We haven't done your list left-handed, Texan. Good afternoon. We're going to do it next. We're just jumping into Pie Production's list. Anyway. Alright, so Pie Production. 1997 points, 7 CP. 1 extra relic, and it is a battalion. Okay. Chapter Master, Artisan of War, Gift of Foresight, Adamantium Mantle. He is a jump Chapter Master with a Storm Shield, and he has the Shield Eternal. Okay, you've made a mistake here, because I guess Shield Eternal has his free relic, which gives him a 5-up shrug, and then he's got Adamantium Mantle, which gives him a 5-up shrug as well. I think. I don't really use Shield Eternal myself. Shield Eternal, 4-up invulnerable save, +1 to the save, and it gives you the 5-up shrug. Yeah, so if you're going to take Shield Eternal, which is fine to take, then rather than use Artisan of War to give yourself Adamantium Mantle, you could either Mastercraft your Thunderhammer, which would be pretty cool. Mastercrafted Thunderhammer, or something else. I'm not entirely sure what else we could take here. Imperium Sword. Give yourself additional reroll your charges and +1 attack and +1 strength. Is it Imperium Sword? I'm sorry, my voice is a bit scratchy for some reason right now. Is it Imperial Sword, or do I always call it Imperium Sword? I thought it was Sword. But where is it? Imperium's Sword, sorry. Reroll charges, +1 strength and attack. Yeah, then I'd either Mastercraft your Thunderhammer or Imperium Sword this guy. You're getting 0 value out of the Adamantium Mantle because the Shield Eternal already gives you the same 5-up shrug. Everyone should not forget that Jack had success on ITC terrain as well. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just a very difficult... I think that is a very difficult list to run, Rizio. Period, right? Like, it doesn't matter if the terrain is good or not. It's just a difficult list to run right now. Props to Jack for doing it. I am not going back to full melee Blood Angels. I personally feel it's a little bit one-dimensional. And... like, your opponent knows exactly what you have to do, and you have to play really well with those angel sacrifices or stuff to make it work. So yeah, I just don't like it. I like my current list. I'm hoping I'm going to play my current list tomorrow night. Kev was messaging me during the stream that he's maybe going to build a super heavy tank list. So I guess we'll see. We might be up against an Eldar super heavy tank list tomorrow. We'll see. Okay, we've got the Sangri Priest, who is the Chief Apothecary in the Jump Pack and Selfless Healer, and we've talked long and hard about him. I think he's still good, but maybe not as good as he once was. At 155 points, you have to resurrect a lot of models to get the value. We have Assault Intercessor Squad, and then 2 Incursor Squads, so a good... I would guess this is a pretty good selection of troops. 2 Contemptors with the Twin Volkites. We haven't actually seen anyone... I think submit a list with the 2 Volkites, but these Twin Volkites are very, very good against Dukari. They're very good in terms of its 16 shots. 6s are doing mortals on the wound rolls. They're still core. They have an invulnerable save. They're 150 points. These guys could honestly go up 10 points, 15 points per model, and I think they'd still be good. I like them a lot. The only negative part of them is that you've got to spend 1 CP to take them. We have the Sangri Ancient with the Wrath of Baal, so all our jump units are going to get additional 2 inches on their movement. We have 4 Sangri Guard with swords and 2 Infernal Pistols. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 Vanguard veterans, a bunch of Thunderhammers, all with Storm Shields and Chainswords. Another bunch of Vanguard veterans, all with Thunderhammers, Storm Shields, and Chainswords, and our Whirlwind. Okay, interesting. We haven't seen this, so to speak. I'm not sure I love the 4-man Sangri Guard. I think Sangri Guard really work best in 7s or 8s, but I guess he's kind of doubled down on the Thunderhammers on the Vanguard veterans. They are quite expensive per model at that point. I think it's 37 points per model, which is a lot to lose. And they are only Marines, and they are only 2 wounds. Tactics. Vanguard veterans get combat squadded every game. Alright, so we've got 4 squads of Vanguard veterans. Secondary wise, we take Blade of Sanguinius most of the time. We retrieve data in Oath. Built around durable mobile infantry with the Dreads offering some long range fire support. Sangri Guard mainly used for heroic interventions. Infernal pistols taken due to leftover points. Consider trimming to add missile launchers to the Dreads or putting some claws on the vets. A Thunderhammer is the equivalent of like 4 Lightning Claws, right? So I'd probably just drop like 1 Thunderhammer in both squads, and then you can go 1, 2, 3, 4. So you could take 4 guys with Lightning Claws. So you could have 5 hammers, 4 Lightning Claws, and a Chainsword. That's probably a pretty good ratio. I might even be tempted to drop like 2 more hammers, 24 points, try and get like a 5th or a 6th Sangri Guard. I don't think the missile launchers on the Dreadnoughts provide a great amount. Cyclone missile launchers are okay at 25 points. They're kind of okay. We only have 2 HQ here. Our Chapter Master, and we did make a tiny little tweak there to make him stronger, hopefully. I guess our Sangri Priest is going to go with this giant blob of jump units. The Relic Contemptors are going to do their thing. It's hard to argue with the Relic Contemptors. They do well. The Whirlwind also provides the fight last. Does anyone in chat want to say anything about this? I like the Relic Contemptors. I guess the advantage of running the 2 big squads of Vanguard vets means that you can combat squad all of them. I am a little bit sad about the 4-man Sangri Guard. The one thing that the Vanguard veterans always lack for me is the number of attacks. Do you know what? Quake bolts would actually give you a lot of value in this list. If there was a character that could run quake bolts, maybe your Sangri Ancient. Sangri Ancient might actually be perfect for this because... Oh no, he's a character. Yeah, of course he's a character. But he does get Ears of Ezekiel, doesn't he, right? So if he's within 6 inches of the Blood Angel's Warlord, he gets to add 1 to his attack, to his hit roll. So he does get to hit on a 2. He just doesn't get the rerolls because he doesn't have the core keyword. But he also gets to give one of your other melee units +1 to their hit rolls. So yeah, you could actually use this pretty nicely, I guess. If you put Quake Bolts on the Sangri Ancient, he's already giving +1 to 1 squad of guys. I imagine like a squad of guys with Thunderhammers. He can then Quake Bolt something else on a 2 if he's within 6 of the Warlord to basically give every unit. So basically he's almost able to give +1 to 2 units of Thunderhammers here, which would give you pretty good value. And then you got your Chapter Master letting you probably reroll 1s, Chapter Master rerolls. That's about the only tweak I'd make here, probably. I actually kind of like this list, mainly because it's hammer time. I'd maybe use the points of the smaller Sangri Guard for a number of company veterans and perhaps Cyclones for the Contemptors. I like the Sangri Guard. Like you said, they're good for heroic interventions. All this Volkite span will be nerfed soon enough. Do you know what? Some of the Orc lists need to be nerfed as well. I feel like they've got a lot of changes that they need to get. 2 Volkite Contemptors seems one-dimensional. It's maybe one thing to be worried about there. I don't know if it is one-dimensional. I mean, like, it's 32 shots. It does very little against armor, right? It's great against hordes. It does spit out mortal wounds, pretty reasonable. And then you've got all these hammers coming in behind it. I kind of like this list. If it was me, I would probably, if this was me and I had free reign, I would probably drop 5 Vanguard veterans out of one squad, and then you'd still have 3 squads of 5 afterwards once you've combat squadded. And like I said, I'd probably drop a couple of hammers to get lightning claws through the whole squads. I would make my Sangri Guard a little bit bigger, and then I would add the Quake Bolts probably. And then maybe at that point, like Highland Phoenix said, I maybe have... I actually don't think I need... I was going to say, I actually don't think I need company veterans because of these assaults. I'd probably maybe just bring like 1 attack bike with a multi-melta, just so that I've got like 1 anti-tank weapon that I can just bring in where I need and zap something with a multi-melta at range. Okay, let me think then. Let's start some scoring for Pi here. And we've got the 3 OBSEC troops, so we're probably on like an 8.5, something like that. Anti-infantry then. I guess our 2 contemptors could do a lot of anti-infantry work. You know, like I said, it's 32 shots. The Sangri Guard gives us, and the Ancient gives us like 10 shots. Assault Intercessors and stuff. So, and then I guess if we were going to change out all these for Lightning Claws, and we've also got the Whirlwind, we could definitely push this up. I think it's like an 8. Anti-monster, and if we talk about 3 damage weapons, as it stands, there's basically 12 Thunderhammers in this list, and I guess 13 if you include the Chapter Master. The Chapter Master's Thunderhammer could be buffed further based on tweaking his Warlord trait as well. So a good number of 3 damage units, a little bit of troop clear as well. We definitely have the ability to open up some Raiders too, which could be important. We don't have... You talked about scoring Oath. I guess the Relic Contemptors are the unit that maybe moves centre board with a squad of Incursors or something for scoring Oath. I think this one again is right up there for anti-vehicle monster. Maybe a 9 just because we lack a little bit of firepower and it's all melee based. Sorry, you had 2 Infernal Pistols there as well, so it's like 15. So I typically like... Well, I run the 2... At the moment, I'm running 2 Redemptors and 2 Tac Bikes. So that gives me basically 2 multi-meltas and 2 heavy plasma cannons, or macro plasma incinerators. And I kind of like that. It's nice to have some decent ranged threat. You don't have to have it, but I like it. But I shouldn't be judging this list on that. Like, if I feel like 15 Thunderhammers, or 13 Thunderhammers, 2 Infernal Pistols, and then I guess the Sangri Guard swords as well. Yeah, we can put this back as the 9.5. Mobility, pretty mobile list, I guess. Your Assault Intercessors aren't mobile, your Relic Contemptors aren't mobile. The Whirlwind doesn't need to be. So probably like 8.5 as well. You've got Wrath of Baal in there, so arguably it could even be a 9. We have the Fight Last from the Whirlwind. We don't have any denies, so probably lose a point for that. We've got plenty of units for actions, because we've got those 3 troops plus a bunch of jump units. I don't know if we have a dedicated jump unit for actions, but I don't think it matters with guerrilla tactics. We also have plenty of 3 damage weapons. What was the CP on this list? It was a battalion, so it should be pretty good. 7. So maybe a half point off for that, I think. So, do you know, this probably makes sense. And it probably makes sense that it's the highest list for today so far because of those Contemptor Dreadnoughts. And like we said, they're probably a little bit undercosted at the moment. And maybe we'll see a change to them. I think in some cases, or against some armies, this list might be weak. Because it is just a bunch of 2 damage Space Marines. And I guess if enemies have ways of countering that, like Andrew's Squig Launchers, then this list would really struggle against those squig launchers, much like I struggled this week against the squig launchers. We did beat them, but it was very, very difficult. So, but I think it is a solid enough list. Just maybe a couple of small changes. I'd happily add points to contemptors if they drop points in the jump pack stuff. Yeah, it's strange that our units went. I don't know. I guess we'll see in the next round of balance. I haven't checked the London Grand Tournament. Does anyone have a link for the London Grand Tournament? Must be getting finished just about now, or round 5 must be finishing, because Andrew was just texting me a few minutes ago. That was probably what was interrupting the phone, the stream, saying that he'd just finished round 5. So, does anyone have a link to the current standings for the LGT? And we'll see where the highest Blood Angels list placed. That'll be interesting. Okay, hopefully give you some tips and some advice there, Pi, on how you can make this a little bit better. But overall, I mean, it is a pretty solid list, I think. One interesting thing you could add that maybe adds a tiny little bit of value is the Sangri Priest could run Icon of the Angel. Because I assume that the Priest, the Chapter Master, and all these jump units are together, giving you the ability to reroll a bunch of charges might add some more value there as well for 1 CP. If you're ever going to have to spend 1 CP in the battle to reroll a charge, then you may almost be just as well taking Icon of the Angel on this character. And, getting multiple units to be able to reroll charges. Alright, cool. I think that's it for Pi's list. An Icon of the Angel is always good in my opinion. Yeah, it's a nice relic to have, isn't it? Even though this week I used it and failed my Sangri Guard's 7-inch rerollable charge, sometimes it's good, right? And I think starting with 6 CP seems good. I think I generally recommend people don't start below 6 CP, and that's sort of where I stand. Alright, cool. Let's get into Left-Handed Texan. Thanks for showing up. I'm glad that I remembered, Texan, that you might be that your time difference. So hopefully we didn't wake you up too early in the morning. But here we go. 1998 points, 9 CP. I would have paid the CP regardless, and then the icon keeps on giving. Yeah, you're very true. If you have a mobile character that's going to be with all your jump units, then you may as well almost consider giving him the Icon of the Angel. Right, so we have a battalion, and we start with a chaplain who has Litany of Faith, I guess, so that we can protect against mortals, and the Canticle of Hate to give us those additional inches of charging and consolidation and piling. We have the Benediction of Fury. We are the Master of Sanctity, so we've got two litanies going off per turn, and we're the Wiserator to get those litanies off of 2s. I really like the Wiserator. I think if you're going to upgrade to the Master of Sanctity, I kind of feel like you have to take Wiserator, so this is good. We then have our Chapter Master, Artisan of Wall, Gift of Foresight, and an Infernal Pistol and a Jump Pack, and a Master-crafted Relic Blade, I assume. And he is the Angel's Exemplar, of course, and he is the Warlord, so rerolling 1 save, 1 hit, 1 wound, and Mastercrafted Relic Blade. Am I missing something, though? Because he should have another relic, right? Am I being dumb? You've paid Angel's Exemplar to give him the 2nd Warlord trait, which you've taken Artisan of War to Mastercraft his Relic Blade. What's your actual free relic on this Warlord? Sorry, Texan. You've missed. Is it like I assume it's something like Armor Indomitus or Angel's Artifice, or I'm at a loss. Armor Indomitus, yes, of course. Armor Indomitus is brilliant. And I'm going to talk about that in my video this week, especially how you use Armor Indomitus. Okay, cool. And we then have a Primaris Librarian with Veil of Time, Null Zone, Psychic Fortress, and he is the Chief Librarian. Okay. I like your powers. I mean, they all make sense. How many more points is the jump pack librarian? I think he's 20 more points. Okay, so you Primaris librarian, a little bit less mobile than the jump one, but I guess a little bit more survivable, a little bit better in contact. Morning, Victoria. How you doing? And Tejas, I'm not sure what you mean by that. All right. Assault intercessors, and incursors. So 2 squads of assault intercessors and 1 of incursors. Pretty good choice. I think you always want at least 1 Phobos troops so that you can do actions super easily. I'd prefer this if it was 2 incursors and 1 assault intercessors. I think the problem I have, when you run 2 squads of assault intercessors, if you end up on a map where there's like 3 backfield objectives, and I guess it depends, do you have a whirlwind? No, okay. So if you end up on a map with like 3 backfield objectives, you may end up having like assault intercessors just sitting on a backfield objective. At that point, they're not brilliant because they're not, there's no way to, they're just going to sit there. They're not going to be in range of anything with their heavy bolt pistols. So what you may end up finding is if you can find the 10 points to get that second squad of incursors, it means later on the game, you can guerrilla tactics them, get them up the board, make a key charge, perform Roctarius data, something like that. So maybe if there's 10 points here, it would be better to have that, but it's just a suggestion, I think. Moving on, Blade Guard Veteran 5-man squad, 175 points. It's totally fine. Death Company, 175 points. 3 Thunder Hammers, 1 Infernal Pistol, and jump packs, of course. Yep. We also have the Judiciar, who is the Selfless Valor for the 6-inch Heroic Intervention. He is the Executioner's Relic Blade, of course, and he's the hero of the chapter. So he'll be going centerboard with the Blade Guard veterans, making it very difficult for the enemy to take them out. Potentially making anything that charges them fight last. We also have the Redemptor Dreadnought, 2 Stormbolters, the Heavy Flamer, the Rocket Pods, and the Macro Incinerator. I understand why you take the Heavy Flamer, right? So it gives it a bit of protection, like so it can overwatch people. But like I think you're better off just spending the 5 points and getting the Onslaught Cannon. Because those Onslaught Cannons do tend to do a lot of work. 24 inches, -1 AP, strength 5, 8 shots. I have 3 Redemptors, actually. 2 of which have Onslaught Cannons, and 1 of which has the Heavy Flamer. And the Heavy Flamer one, as much as like you would think that'd be nice, in practice, I don't think you get a lot of value out of it, right? Because like, if people are going to charge a Redemptor Dreadnought, it's got a Redemptor Fist, which is like 5 attacks if you're charged, D3 plus 3. Like it can, I've literally had my Redemptor Fist do 30 damage to somebody in a single turn of combat or something like that. Like, people have to be, if you have the Judiciar around as well and you can make the enemy fight last, no one's going to charge the Redemptor, right? So I feel like, plus the Heavy Flamer's just 12 inches range, I feel like you get more value if you can find the points for the Onslaught Cannon. I feel like you can get more value out of it, but it's a minor thing. I mean, the Heavy Flamer's fine. If you're going to advance them up the board and you're going to go after the enemy in combat, then you're going to get them with the Heavy Flamer eventually. Just you'll get an extra turn or 2 shooting from the Onslaught Cannon, I feel like. Sangri Guard, and it's quite a big squad. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So it's a 9 Sangri Guard. Good mix of swords and axes, 1 Infernal Pistol, and that's kind of how I like to run mine. I'm running 7 at the moment, and 7 feels okay. 8 feel pretty good. 9 is very killy. If you need points in the list, I would be willing to remove 1 Sangri Guard and go to like an 8. That could be a way if you need some points to move some things around. I'd probably keep the Infernal Pistol though, even if I move down to an 8. We then have a Vanguard Veteran Squad, 4 with Lightning Claws and Storm Shields, the Sergeant with the Bolt Pistol and the Thunder Hammer. And yeah, maybe that's what we would need to do here. Like, lose 1 Sangri Guard, get the Onslaught Cannon, get a second Phobos unit, Maybe get the Storm Shield on the Sergeant here, because I guess you didn't have quite enough points to make it work. And what was it? 9 CP? Mind you, you could also just have the Blade Guard Veteran Sergeant take Quake Bolts. Because Quake Bolts means that you can kind of buff whatever unit ends up charging. You could also maybe take Quake Bolts on like the Judiciar or the Blade Guard Veteran Captain. That might be a good call. Blade Guard Veterans do so much damage. They get so many attacks. Like the Sergeant gets 6 attacks and the other guys get 5. So if the enemy ignore them, like one squad of Blade Guard Veterans essentially get 26 attacks, and they're basically Sangri Guard at that point, right? They're strength 5, they're -3, they're 2 damage, they're basically Incarnate. Incarnate swords are basically mastercrafted power swords, right? There's no difference between the two. So 5 Blade Guard Veterans is equivalent of like 5, is better than 5 Sangri Guard actually. You get 1 more attack. So the only disadvantage with the Blade Guard Veterans is you hit on 3s, and that's their biggest weakness. So maybe taking Quake Bolts on the Blade Guard Veteran so that you get that chance to buff them to hit on a 2 might be really, really important. And then we have 6 Hellblasters with Assault Plasmas. And I have 10 Hellblasters, and I've had them for a while, and I've always wanted to run them. And Assault Plasma's obviously got buffed to 3 shots per unit now. Strength 6, -4, -3. I actually don't know. Let me check. What are they? Heavy support, of course they are. Hellblasters. Assault Plasmas, -4. Okay. So strength 6, -4, 3 shots. Can overcharge to strength 7 if we need it for 2 damage. I mean, the -4 is pretty nice at 24 inches. 15 shots from the squad is also pretty nice. The one thing that I want to say about Hellblasters is points per model. Like, they're very expensive for just basically a Space Marine that can die, you know? Like 33 points per model. It's just a 2 Moon Marine with a 3-up save. So that's the one weakness, I think, of the Hellblasters, right? You know, they're more expensive than the Sangri Guard, and they're definitely not as survivable. They're more expensive than Death Company, obviously, and they're not as survivable. They're more expensive than a Vanguard Veteran Squad as well. My tactic, or my thought about running... Oh, it's going to be 7 of them? Oh, 7, sorry. Yeah, 7. I ignored the Sergeant. My thought, the way to run them would be to run them around a Dreadnought that's going to use like Wisdom of the Ancient to give them like rerolls 1s so that they can overcharge. And yeah, I guess that's what you're saying. That is the plan. And I think that works. And I guess if you've got your Primaris Librarian there giving them Psychic Fortress, that's good as well. Like, so these things can work. Do you know, it was something I thought about running, like a Dreadnought with a Psychic Fortress with Assault Blasters around them, and it is a very good number of assault shots. And if you can Wisdom with Ancient, you can reroll all your hits, then yeah, 21 Strength 6 -4 or 21 Strength 7 -4 2 damage is good. You know, Highland's talking about putting them in an impulsor, and the nice thing about putting them in the impulsor is you can disembark from the impulsor and shoot in the same turn. But, you know, we talk about avoiding blast. It's only going to be a minimum of 3 shots, right? It doesn't make a huge difference. If you think most weapons are like blast D6 or... yeah, I mean, if you're blast D6 and you've got 7 guys, 3 shots from a D6 is minimum 3 is not bad. Like, it's not going to make a huge amount of difference. I would like to know how you get on with those Hellblasters and the Dreadnought and the Psychic Fortress idea, because I had that idea a while ago. I think I had that idea when the Sangri Priest was really good, so I thought like every turn we could just resurrect a Hellblaster as well and just keep shooting. And yeah, you could put a chaplain in there as well. I guess you do have a chaplain. Maybe you could give the Primaris Librarian the Soul Warden trait. No, you've already got 3. Damn it, you already got 3 Heroes of the Chapter. Or 2 Heroes of the Chapter, sorry. Yeah, alright, this is not my updated list. I'm somewhat limited on which models I currently own and I've painted and don't plan on getting on the competitive scene anytime soon, but I'd love your feedback. Also, I'd like to say thank you for what you've done for me in this hobby. The part of the reason I got back from a deployment into the Middle East and went from 0 points of Blood Angels to 550 in 3 months. Oh, you're very welcome, man. Yeah, I was out of the hobby for a while and I just needed a gentle push from one of my friends. And, it's nice to be back. I don't think I'll ever get out of it again. But, yeah, I totally see. My only concern is that Hellblasters just are Space Marines and they're very expensive. If there was a cheap apothecary that we could take to bring them back to life, then maybe I like it a little bit more. But I think I'd like to see you try it. Like when I was thinking of doing it, I was thinking of going like full 10 Hellblasters, and then rerolls and stuff like that. I think that probably works really well on Ultramarines. And I think it can probably work well in some other chapters as well. I don't think it's bad for Blood Angels, and it definitely has a bit of synergy. And if these are the models that you have, then great, use them. My list, or the list that I'm working on at the moment, is kind of similar to you. Slightly different size of Sangri Guard. It was slightly different size of Vanguard Veterans, but for the most part the same. The Redemptor, the Blade Guard. I was running Infiltrators, but I'm changing it to Incursors. So I think this is a very good starting list. I probably would be tempted to take the Apothecary over the Judiciar, because the thing that I find with my Blade Guard veterans is, right, and I'm going to talk about this in my tournament video that I make for next Friday. In pretty much every game, I need something to go centerboard because we need to score Oath of Moment points. Doesn't matter if there's objective centerboard or not, I need something to be centerboard for like 2 or 3 turns of the game because that will score me Oath of Moment points. So in my list, the most durable things that I have are the Blade Guard Veterans and the Redemptor Dreadnoughts. So some of them, and sometimes both of them, because like if we talk about how to hold an objective in a tournament setting, because obviously I just played in a tournament setting, and this game against Dark Eldar, maybe this is a really good example actually. This screenshot is a perfect example. What actually happened was these little circular markers actually got moved at one point in this game, and we were playing the entire game by intent, right? So I'd actually said, like when you play by intent, you tell your opponent what you're doing so that there's no argument later on in the game. So I'd said, like, these Blade Guard veterans are going to advance to this middle point, and if we measure this crater here was the middle. If we measure 6 inches from the back, you can see that all the Blade Guard veterans are within 6 inches of the middle, so I will score my Oath of Moment points every turn, right? And this objective here actually got moved because it was a little slidey bit of plastic. I actually had my Chapter Master and this attack bike both touching this objective. For whatever reason, this moved. You can see his one is a little bit off the edge. My one got moved back, and maybe later. Yeah, I think you can see here in the next screenshot, it's actually closer to this edge here. So the objective had just actually got moved. So like when I held this objective, I said to my opponent, I'm placing my Chapter Master and I'm placing my attack bike on this objective. So basically, like, I have 2 units on this objective. Over here, I did the same thing. I'm placing my Whirlwind and my Sangri Guard on this objective. So I have 2 units over here. And you can see over here, I actually have both Dreadnoughts, and my Librarian is up here on the roof hiding as well. And I think my Tech Marine's in here as well, so I have 4 units on the objective. But the idea behind having 2 units on the objective is, he's got these Dark Lances. He could easily shoot a Dark Lance at the attack bike, vaporize the attack bike, and then I lose all the points, all my models off the objective, and as such, he starts scoring more for me in primaries. So when you're holding objectives, especially in the early game like this, you should basically have like a reliable fallback. So right, if he kills my Whirlwind here, I still hold his objective because the Sangri Guard is on it. etc., etc. So yeah, in this case, I actually beat this guy, and this was one of the Dark Elder games that I won, because he only had a single unit on this objective. So I used my Whirlwind to kill it, and I used my Redemptors to kill it. So basically, like, I pulled him off this objective, and in when we actually break down this game, I only won this game by 5 points. So basically him, you know, like, he obscured his raiders here, so I couldn't shoot them. But it cost him the game, right? Because, like, basically I used all my firepower. Rather than delete the raiders, I just deleted what was on the objective because I knew primaries were going to be super important, right? So if you're going to have, like, a strong unit that's going to go center board, like my Blade Guard veterans, like my Redemptors, and I guess this was a good example because, like, the Blade Guard veterans are super far forward here. These guys are super exposed. If we jump forward like to the next turn or something, there is one Blade Guard veteran left out of that squad of 5, right? There's, like, he's surrounded by incubi. There's a raider that came in here, and I mean, if the Blade Guard veterans survived, then there was obviously a bit of a melee going on here. But I guess my point is, something's going to be exposed, something's going to die. When I played against Thousand Suns at this tournament, my Blade Guard veterans again were pushed up right in the center of the board. You can see, like, one turn later, the Blade Guard veterans are just gone. They got smited to oblivion. So I guess my point is that I like the idea of the Judiciar and the Blade Guard veterans going center board, but if they're going center board by themselves, are they going to survive? Because it seemed to me in my games, people either went after my Dreadnoughts or they went after the Blade Guard veterans, and both are pretty big threats. If Blade Guard veterans are ignored, like I said, they're actually better in combat than Sangri Guard. They're going to mince through enemy units. If the Dreadnoughts are ignored, then they're going to shoot and do combat the whole game. So maybe if you want to make this Hellblaster strategy work with them all together inside a Psychic Fortress, with the Dreadnought as well, maybe if it doesn't work out, you want to try swapping in an Apothecary for the Judiciar. Because the Judiciar, if the Blade Guard veterans get, like I said, when I was playing against Thousand Suns, they were able to do like 17 mortal wounds in the first turn of their psychic phase. So if they put all the mortal wounds down onto the Blade Guard, there's no way to protect against them unless you have Soul Warden, which this list doesn't have. So you're going to lose your entire Blade Guard, and then at that point the Judiciar is a sitting duck. So maybe it's a better idea in this stratagem, or this strategy, that if the Blade Guard are going to be exposed, then it's just something to consider. I have Infiltrators and want to try running Cursors. Do I need to change the model, or can I just state this in Cursors at the start? Technically, the models are a little bit different. They have a different backpack and a different attachment on their guns. But I guess if you ask your friend 444, maybe they're okay. And the name of the army is the 39 Black Boots. I missed that. Oh, you didn't put it in. Okay. So let's do a little bit of scoring, and then we'll call it a day for this week's army show. We have the 2 Assault Intercessors and the 1 Squad of Incursors. So that's like an 8 for OBSEC. Could be an 8.5, I think, if you can get one more squad of Phobos units in there, just because I think there's a lot of viability in them. For anti-horde, then we've got like 18 bolt guns coming out of the Sangri Guard. We have the Hellblasters that can definitely mince down some hordes with all those assault guns. The Redemptor would be a little better if this was the Onslaught Cannon, but it's not bad. And then I guess we do have some Assault Intercessors that can fight into hordes. I'm reckoning anti-horde is maybe like an 8. Anti-monster, 3 damage weapons wise, then we've got the Macroplasma and the Fist. We've got an Infernal Pistol here, which is 3. 3 more Thunderhammers and another Infernal Pistol, that's 7. And then I guess our Chapter Master with his Mastercrafted Relic Blade, that's 8. So maybe a tiny little bit. And I guess the 4 Sword from Librarian, 9. I don't think I've missed anything. Oh, well, I guess the Judiciar's Blade as well, so maybe 10. So maybe a little bit shy. Oh, and the Thunderhammer here, did I mention that? Maybe like borderline just enough 3 damage weapons. Thunderhammer, Vanguard Veterans, large squad of Sangri Guard, Redemptor, Death Company, the Judiciar, the Chapter Master, yeah, and then the Hellblasters as well. I guess against toughness 7 enemies, the Hellblasters could do actually a lot of work as well. Mobility wise is a little bit less because we've obviously got those Hellblasters and the Blade Guard and the Judiciar, and then we have the ability to make the enemies fight last. Yes, we don't have any denies in this list, but we do have Litany of Faith, which gives us a feel no pain against protections. I will be posting up tomorrow's lists later tonight, Rezio. Probably like 9 o'clock. I want to run pretty much my tournament list with a couple of tweaks. Probably the Terminators have been painting the last couple of nights, so we'll run that. Of course, your Librarian is the chief, isn't he? He's got 2 denies. So we do have fight last. We do have 2 denies. We do have a good amount of units for actions, but it would be nice if we had that second Phobos unit. We have just enough 3 damage weapons, and we have 9 CP as well. I really think Quake Bolts could give you value in this list. I really think I would take the Sangri Guard down to an 8. Or take your Plasma guys down 1 as well, make them 6. And get the second Incursor squad for 10 points. Get the Quake Bolts onto this Vanguard Veteran squad, get the Onslaught Cannon onto this guy, and then maybe you've got like 10, 15 points. I'm not entirely sure what you would do with... it could actually be worth just going triple Incursor. Phobos units just come into their own late game. Or take 1 Vanguard Veteran with like double Chainsword, like a super cheap model if you need him. And then when they die, you see just the first one to die. Yeah, there was a few Infernal Pistols, wasn't there? Yeah. So I think overall, yeah, even if you take Quake Bolts, you still have 8 CP, which is really good. So I think Specialization, I don't think you need to drop any points for that, pretty much. I think it's 9.5. I think it's hard to get a 10 on Specialization. Maybe the only thing that would be better here is if it was a Whirlwind over the Judiciar, because the Whirlwind gives you the fight last over the whole battlefield. But I mean, overall, if you're just coming back into the hobby, this is a very good list as well. I mean, I just want to give it a little yellow. Not quite as high as Pie Production, but like, yeah, I mean, I think it's a fine list, and I think that if you're not playing competitively, then this list would do very well. If you're playing competitively, there'll be a few minor tweaks you can make, but you could almost take this to competitive games right now. I just don't have enough experience using the Assault Hellblasters with the Redemptor, with the Librarian, but it's definitely a strategy that crossed my mind. So I think it could be very good. I guess I need you to try it and let me know. Because yeah, it's a pretty, it's definitely, you know, you've got what, 21 strength 7 -4 2 damage weapon coming out. I mean, even against -1 damage enemies, like if you even if you're shooting against like a -1 damage Death Guard thing, you're probably still going to kill it just because you've got weight of fire there. They're basically like Inceptors, but you've got a potential invuln save in there as well, and rerolls. I do wonder if you just had 4 Inceptors instead, because Inceptors are 60 points per model, right? So 4 Inceptors would give you 24 shots. So it's about, yeah, they're basically just as good as, they're basically Inceptors. 4 Inceptors would be 12 wounds, toughness 5, whereas these guys are 14 wounds, toughness 4. Do you know? Yeah, when you say it like that, I think Inceptors are just a little bit better because of that extra point of toughness. But anything that you point them at, they'll basically kill. Yeah, I think so. I think that's why I kind of lean towards if this was me and you didn't, obviously you don't want to buy 1 million models. I know what that's like. If you've got 555 points to paint, I know what that's like as well. I reckon you could probably try this with an apothecary who is like the healer, the selfless healer apothecary, and like 4 inceptors with plasmas, and it might be just as good, if not a little bit better. And the cool thing about inceptors is later in the game, when the map starts to thin out as well, you can just, the inceptors have that 10-inch move, so you can start moving them 10 inches into board quadrants. You can do retrieve Octarius data, and you can still shoot with the stratagems and stuff like that. So I probably lean towards that. Like, if you like this and you think it's good, then that's probably what I would start leaning towards. And yeah, I think it's a pretty cool list. So thank you for submitting it. I'm glad that you've come back to the hobby. I was definitely out of the hobby for a while, so it's nice to see people coming back, and I appreciate the support as well on the channel. It's very much appreciated, Texan, and I mean, you're always here on all the different live streams and stuff. So thanks for hanging out. Hope we didn't get you up too early. I am losing my voice a little bit, so I'm going to call it today, guys. I will be back tomorrow night, about an hour and a half from now, and I will post the list. Let me see if Kev has texted me this list. Kev has texted an Eldar list. Hold on, let me see it. No, actually, I think Andrew sent an Eldar list that beat him at the London GT. Okay. I will message Kev again and say, have you got your list? Oh, he has messaged me. I just haven't seen it because for whatever reason Facebook didn't pop it up. Let me just bring it up then, and we can look at it on stream for like 2 minutes, and then I'm going to call it a day. Kevin. Here we go. Right. Kev is going to take a custom craft world, Children of Prophecy, expert crafters. Expert crafters usually means I'm going to use the list that I played at the tournament 2 weeks ago, but I'm dropping my Primaris Chaplain and Vanguard Vets and trying Terminators. If I had the flight stands for the Inceptors, I would take Inceptors. I'm trying to decide if I want to drive up to the storage locker that I packed everything into with my house and try and find those flight stands to make them tonight. I don't really want to, but I might do that. I have no idea what box they're in, though, and like the storage locker that we have is so full. Like, that's literally going to be painful to try and find them. I could probably show you a picture of my storage locker as well. But yeah, I think that's what I want to try and run. Like I do want to try and run that. I'll show you this picture, then you'll know the pain that I'm in. Oh, if my computer would actually load websites, I could show you this picture. It's so slow right now. Okay, so we've got a Farseer, we've got a Warlock, and we've got another Warlock. Typically, when Kev runs these Psychers, he uses stuff like Jinx. I think Jinx means like he gets to reroll all wounds against suppressors. What did I say? Did I say something else? I definitely mean suppressors. Doom. I think Doom is like reroll hits. Jinx is like reroll wounds, right? Like, but I mean, I do have the Chief Librarian, so yeah. This was my storage locker like a week ago. So now this little bit of floor here is all that's not got shit in it, and one of these boxes has my Warhammer stuff in it. I shit you not. I have literally no idea which box has the suppressor flight stands in. Some of the boxes are labelled, some of them are not, because apparently I'm an idiot. But okay, We then have Dire Avengers, Guardian Defenders, so that's fine. We have Wraith Blades. Oh, he did this against me last time. 10 Wraith Blades. Okay, Wraith Blades are no joke. They're basically Eldar Vanguard veterans. And they're like T6 or something. They're slow, but you can cast powers on them to make them move further, yeah? So it's going to be 10 Wraith Blades with Ghost Swords, and I think they come with the shields, right? Yeah, so they basically have a 4-up invulnerable save. When I played the Wraith Blades before, I never had Null Zone, so Null Zone might be a good one to just be able to just wreck the Wraith Blades. Amazon delivery tonight in the north of Scotland? No, that's not a thing. We then have Wind Riders ×2. We then have a Falcon. I'm not actually really familiar with the Falcon. The Hemlock Wraith Fighter. And then the Scorpion Lord of War with Shuriken Catapults. I'm not familiar with the Scorpion, but I guess that is the Eldar super heavy tank. Let's see if we can get a picture of it. Oh, it just looks... So it's just a bigger version of like a Dire Avenger... not a Dire Avenger. A Warp. God, what's it called again? Wave Serpent, right? Is it dedicated transport or? So it's just got a Shuriken Catapult. Oh, it's got a twin Scorpion Pulsar, 60 inches, heavy 12, strength 12, -4, 3 damage. Alright, so that's going to be a problem. Toughness 8, 26 wounds, 3-up save, 5-up invuln. Nasty. Okay, I don't know how to fight. I guess terrain will be my friend against this. Ballistic skill 3. I take it. Does Doom and all that work with this, or does it require? Eldar don't have their 9th edition book yet, right? So like. Let me read what Doom says, or Jinx. Doom, you can reroll failed wounds made by a Saurian unit from your army. Does it have the right keyword? How many points was it? It was 515 points. Oh, it does have the right keyword. Alright, so he can, if he gets the psychic powers off, he can probably reroll hits and wounds on this thing. Because he's most likely going to have Doom and Jinx, right? Doom, unit within, you can reroll fail wounds, and then Jinx is choose a friendly. Choose an enemy within 18 inches. Your opponent must subtract 1 from all saving throws made against it. Okay, so I thought you had a way to reroll as well. I'm sure he will have a way to reroll. Do you know what? We haven't fought a Lord of War. I don't think I fought a single Lord of War on the channel. So that'll be a fun one. So that's coming tomorrow night, guys. Thanks for watching today. I hope you enjoyed the stream. If you are new and you want to see more Blood Angels content every week, I guess you can consider subscribing. We'll be back to battle this tomorrow night. Maybe I'll have some suppressors. Maybe it'll just be the Terminators for one more week. But we will find those suppressor flight stands at some point. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Thanks so much for watching. By the blood are we made strong. Peace. This says 500 points, but Kev's thing said it was 515. Oh, he's given it Spirit Stones. I forget what Spirit Stones are, but I think they give him the ability to get some extra wounds or something. Roll a d6 each time this model with Spirit Stones suffers an unsaved wound or a mortal wound. So he can shrug wounds on a 6 as well. Alright, wow, that's pretty good. Alright, this is going to be a fun fight tomorrow night. Hopefully we'll see some of you guys there. Peace.